Okay, you want my thoughts on Slammiversary? Here you go. Sorry if you were hoping for a separate video, but I think most of us were in agreement that TNA didn't exactly make this a can't-miss show from a creative standpoint, so I hope you'll excuse me if I didn't think a separate video was really necessary. The opener was a completely random triple threat X Division title match with no build-up between three guys who have been booked like jobbers for so long that none of them mean anything. It's a good match, but so what? Give them a storyline, for crying out loud. Robbie E versus Jesse Goddard just felt like an Impact match, and not a very interesting one. I'm still not sold on Jesse. The match ground to a screeching halt when he was on the offense. I do think he has some charisma, but if he's going to make it as a single star, he's got to work a lot harder than that. Bram versus Matt Morgan felt like another TV match. It was okay while it lasted, but it was pretty short. And I don't know how Bram can beat Matt Morgan when he couldn't beat an overweight old man on Impact last week. Morgan looked pretty decent, though. Austin Aries versus Davey Richards was pretty damn good. Of course, we all knew it would be. Now this felt like a pay-per-view match. It's just a shame that the only point of it was to hype up a match that would happen on free TV. Brooke and Awesome Kong versus the Dollhouse was a solid Knockouts tag match. The finish was really cool, but I thought this was going to be a title match with Brooke, Kong, and Taryn. Apparently not. Apparently that was being saved for Impact. So the match was good, I enjoyed it, but it's kind of hard to care that much when it's very similar to a match we just saw a few weeks ago, and it's just hyping up stuff that's going to happen on free TV. So why should we pay money to see this then? Magnus versus James Storm. Match of the night in my opinion. This was easily one of Magnus's best matches, if not his best match. I love the extremes they went to with the big Magnus table spot, which was crazy, the superplex through the guardrail thing, and the finish was really creative too. I don't agree with Magnus losing, but the finish made it look like it really could have gone either way, and it just came down to sheer luck that Storm got the pin. Really, really good stuff here. And now both guys are switching to pay-per-appearance free agent status. So, yeah, that sucks quite a lot. EC3 and Tyrus versus Lashley and Anderson. Where the hell did this match come from? Talk about a TV match. I know plans got screwed up when Impact moved to Wednesdays, but you couldn't come up with something more meaningful for EC3 than this? This was pure filler just to get him on the show. At least the right guy went over. Good to see EC3 get a more conclusive win over Lashley. I appreciated that. Still not much more than filler, though. And that brings us to King of the Mountain with Jeff Jarrett and a random assortment of guys who weren't already booked in matches for this pay-per-view. It was a chaotic match, but a good match. I just wish they were fighting over something a little less worthless than the Legend/Global/TV/King of the Mountain Championship belt that Booker T pulled out of his ass a few years ago. But leave it to TNA to bring in a guy for a one-shot appearance. A guy who's clearly only there to promote another company and put him over their own fucking talent. If this was not the start of some kind of interpromotional angle, then this was just about the stupidest thing they could have possibly done. And if it is an interpromotional angle, it's still fucking stupid. What does TNA get out of cross-promoting with Global Force Wrestling, a company with no TV deal that plays in front of a couple hundred people if they're lucky? Maybe if they could get access to some of the GFW talent? Because there are a couple people in there, like Cherry Bomb, for example, that I'd love it if they could use. But still, convincing me that this was worth doing is gonna be a pretty hard sell. And those are my thoughts on Slammiversary. Wrestling-wise, it was one of TNA's better efforts in a while, but from a creative standpoint, it was hard to shake the feeling that they were just biding their time until more important stuff could happen on Impact. Speaking of which, the Rising lose to the BDC in a 3-on-4 handicap match, so they have to disband. Why is it that the BDC seem to pick up a new member almost every few weeks, and yet the Rising still can't get a fourth guy to team with them? You're telling me they can't find anyone? Why is that? Are they just really lazy, or do they think they can beat the BDC when they're down a man?
Now you see that evil will always triumph, because good is dumb.
The match is decent. And given the way this feud had just been treading water for a while now, ending it was probably for the best, even though this was a pretty unceremonious way to do it. Plus, it's one less faction running around, which is not a bad thing. It's just a little strange that an angle that seemed to have so much behind it when it started really kind of went nowhere ultimately. Mickie James is alive! Hallelujah! Some good Samaritan pulled her off the train tracks before James Storm became a murderer! Praise the wrestling gods, it's a miracle! And you've gotta love James Storm's explanation for this whole thing, too. According to him, this was never about getting Mickie to join the revolution. He just wanted to show everyone how easy it was to manipulate a woman. So, Storm's motivation here was not to come between Mickie and Magnus, not to help his faction in some way. No. Essentially, he did it just to be a dick. Well, you gotta hand it to him, I guess. A lot of feuds in pro wrestling these days seem to have no real basis or impetus behind them, but at least he was honest about it. Good promo segment, I suppose, and it was nice to have at least some talking to break up all the wrestling on this show, but I would have liked to see Magnus and Storm selling their match from the pay-per-view a little bit. They both pulled a John Cena here and looked totally fine. They weren't selling that they beat the hell out of each other on Sunday at all. It would have been nice if they had, is all I'm saying. So the Wolves Dirty Heels Best of 5 series comes down to a 30-minute Iron Man match for the vacant tag team titles. I don't think much needs to be said about this, just that it was a really great match, and if you missed it, you should check it out. As for who the Wolves feud with now, beats the hell out of me. Maybe the Beatdown Clan? Although the possibility of Hernandez getting anywhere near those tag titles again after the Los Stereotypicos fiasco kind of fills me with dread. So maybe that wouldn't be the best idea.
I'd rather get a high colonic with a hot poker.
I like this knockout triple threat title match for the most part, though it felt like the interference was a little bit overdone. It was good while it lasted, but it was too damn short. Like under 5 minutes. Why the hell did we have all that build-up for a match this short? The matches they had to hype it up were longer than this turned out to be. Nevertheless, I did like the outcome. I don't see why Taryn Terrell should lose the Knockouts title when she's been doing so well lately. In my opinion, her championship reign is not in danger of getting stale at all yet, so I'm happy to see her hold on to it for a while longer. I like that she won by beating Kong. Kong can eat that loss easily. It's further credibility for Taryn, even if she did it with heel tactics, and Brooke is protected. So I think that was the perfect outcome, really. What the fuck? So the mysterious woman in those cryptic promos is not a new knockout debuting after all, it's just Gail Kim. Not gonna lie, that was a very underwhelming reveal. I've got a couple questions here, TNA. If it was Gail the whole time, why bother concealing her identity? This was such a fucking tease. Why all the mystery? Why make it look like you've got some badass new knockout coming in if it's just gonna be Gail again? For that matter, why even bother with the videos in the first place when Gail was only gone for a few weeks? Why not do something like have mysterious attacks in the dollhouse backstage when they don't know who's doing it? Or just have Gail return without all the videos so it's a surprise when she shows up? I appreciate the effort here, but this was kind of a letdown. But enough about all that stuff. We all know what this show was really about. Our Lord of Wrestling, the hardcore American icon EC3, challenging Kurt Angle for the World Heavyweight Championship.
Yes! 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 Yes!
But actually, I shouldn't say that. Because challenging implies that it was an actual challenge. And that could not be further from the truth at all. More like wrestling's greatest heroes simply walked into that ring, boom! ruined Kurt Angle with his sheer amazingness and took what was rightfully his. No offense to Kurt Angle, but there was only one thing he was in for on this night.
Trouble. Trouble. Trouble.
Alright. In all seriousness here, this was terrific. The match delivered. It was well booked with just enough interference to make EC3 look slimy and underhanded, but not so much that it made him look like he couldn't get the job done himself. And I'm so happy they actually went through with it and gave him the title. I think EC3 is one of the best cases, if not the best case, of TNA building, creating, and branding a new star that they've managed to pull off. Everything they've done with him has worked. The audience was ready for it, to the point where there might have even been more pro-EC3 fans in the crowd than people heeling him, and that was with him working against Kurt Angle. TNA hit a home run with this guy. They've gotten everything right with EC3. This was the big payoff for it, and it worked out great. I think EC3 is exactly the person who needed to take the title from Kurt Angle, and exactly the world champion that TNA needs right now. Would this have been a better main event for Slammiversary? Yeah, but hey, at least it happened.
Yes!
My one complaint is that there was shockingly little fanfare for this match. It had a promo package at the start of the show, and that was it. There were no promos, there was no confetti when EC3 won. It really felt like they should have done more with that. And that was something that extended to the rest of the show, too. No fanfare for any of the matches. All night long, they're cutting away from segments way too quickly before what happened in them could sink in. I think the Iron Man match taking up half an hour made everything else a little pressed for time, which was unfortunate. If they had moved something on this show to next week, it would have freed up that extra time they needed to let segments breathe a little more. As it is, things felt a bit rushed at certain points. But regardless of that and the few issues I had, this was a very strong Impact, one of the best in a while. I enjoyed this more than Slammiversary, actually, and I'm pretty sure that's what they were going for. I don't agree that they had to creatively marginalize the pay-per-view to set that up, but at least the end result was a good one. Over. Out.